Hello, welcome back to All for United WFC. This is nice, isn't it? A clean sheet, 4 goals, 4 different goal scorers, which we're sure we'll get into because there's still a little bit of debate online about the first one. But I think we're all pretty unanimous on the panel as to who we thought scored the first one. But we'll get into all that. We will cover Leicester a little bit towards the end as well, because obviously we have got Conti Cup on Thursday night as well. And obviously looking ahead to Liverpool, we'll cover that later on in the week as well. So we've got lots to discuss. 4 goals, as I said, a bit of a clean sheet. Hayley Ladd as well, her performance. We'll dive into a bit of, obviously, Mallard's performance as well, and a few other players on the player of the match. Firstly, Charlie, I'll just come to you. Obviously, you were there, as always, as we do when we do kind of away games and those kind of things. What did you think of the away end yesterday? And also, what time did you get home yesterday, out of interest? I've not actually asked you.
I got home at exactly 00:00 hours.
You got back well before me.
Well,
how did you manage that?
I don't know. I was driving at the speed limit all the time. That's it. Good away end. There was loads, weren't there? Loads of United fans. Very few Spurs fans. Very strange. Very few. But yeah, good away end, I thought. Busy. Much better than... I keep wanting to say we were down in Brentford. We weren't down in Brentford, were we? Where were we last?
Bristol,
that's it. Because that was dreadful, wasn't it? If you were there, that was a dreadful away, and there was like tumbleweed. But really good last night, much better. I do like a late night kickoff though. I do enjoy it.
It's a proper old school ground as well, isn't it? Obviously at Leighton Orient. That we found out that opposite us, it's an Airbnb, isn't it? That's built into the corner of the ground, and you can book in there and watch the game from your hotel room. Me and Rob were saying that could have just booked in there. It'd be warmer. It was freezing towards the end of that game. Could have been in the warm watching the game from the hotel room, which would have been quite nice. Yes, I agree. I thought it was pretty good yesterday, and I didn't expect many Spurs fans there. But yeah, the United fans that were there made a lot of noise, and the support was great. I've got to be honest though, very quick story. Standing on the back row, I wish they'd removed that metal bar that is like head height behind where you stand, because the amount of times I hit my head off of that. Yeah, I'm surprised I'm doing this show 24 hours on, but there we are. Indeed, everyone in the comments already saying, talking about the balance and things like that. Well, sure, we're going to get into that as we talk about Hayley Ladd as well, which is the big change in the midfield with Miyazawa missing. Charlie, I'll come to yourself again first. We might as well start with the first half. Before the goal, obviously, Leticia makes that block very early in the game. Yes. There wasn't a lot really to discuss, was there, in that kind of first half? What do you think it is that went wrong? It sounds bad to say because we did go into at halftime 1-0 up, but in that kind of first 30-35 minutes, do you think that was just typical of what we've seen with United so far this season, that kind of slow, not really having that clinical edge in attack?
Yeah, it was a little bit lackluster, wasn't it? I suppose it was I think what we talked about before is it felt a little bit robotic, like you kind of knew it was like patterns of play you knew. Well, I say patterns of play, passes that you knew were going to happen. You knew where the ball was going to go, and it made it quite predictable. And then it sort of, when it's quite predictable, it forces the issue. And then the sort of passes over the top and the passes along the wing weren't really accurate enough. There was a lot of it going out for a throw in or going really out miles too long and going out for a goal kick. So yeah, it was a little bit lackluster. I think apart from the obviously incredible block that Maya made, I don't think, even though we didn't come out all guns blazing, I don't really think we were under the cosh either. Like Spurs played some all right football at times. You could see what they were trying to do. But they were sort of second best throughout. So yeah, a bit lackluster, but once we'd scored, it felt like it was only going to go one way, really.
Yeah, and Barry, over to yourself. What did you make of the first, obviously up to the goal? We'll cover the goal or the Blundell goal separately in just a second. But yeah, what do you make of that first kind of 30-35 minutes? And again, I think someone just brought a comment on screen about it. Bething that must see Mayer in her nightmares. That's twice. Mayer's denied a goal scoring opportunity from Bething. They're pretty much on the line as well.
I mean, yes, but I think, to be honest with you, that was the only thing in an entirety of 90 minutes that really springs to mind that Spurs did. So, really, with the exception of that moment, I'm genuinely struggling to sit here and think of a moment where Spurs put us on the back foot and we were really struggling. I think it's probably one of the more complete performances that we've had this season. We've just looked in control. We've scored at the right times, scored some good goals as well, which obviously we're going to get to. You're going to get that. Spurs have been on a bit of a fly high lately. They've been doing reasonably well. Beth England coming back was always going to be a big thing. Beth England coming back as a captain was always going to be quite a big thing as well. She came back. She did a good job. But I guess ultimately she just showed why I would choose Alessia Russo over Beth England. Ooh, I went there.
Oh, you went there. I still don't agree with you, personally. but who knows? Neither of them, I don't think, should start anyway. Should be Daly. But saying that on this season's form, I don't know who should be starting up front for England, because I think they're all a bit hit and miss so far. I got to be honest, I disagree. I think they are a good side. I think they're well organised for the most part. Obviously, City game aside, where they got absolutely turned over, and obviously, for us, obviously fallen as well. I think they're all right.
Last season, they were absolutely dross, but this season they are a much better side.
Which is weird, isn't it, considering we've beaten them 4-0 this time and only 2-1 last season. Obviously, when we went, I know it was a different ground, obviously with a bigger ground and the
we had those moments, but like Leicester 1-0,
I was going to say, you went for the pen flip over the mic drop, apparently. You did. You do that a lot. When you make a point, you just...
It just depends what's there. One day my phone's going to go and that'll be it. Nobody will be able to contact Barry again. So Connor's just waiting for that moment, really.
Exactly. I think, yeah, and obviously Sport is pretty much backing up what you're saying. They're supposed to not really offering much. They did look a bit pedestrian in the first 30 minutes or so. And yeah, obviously a loss for them, obviously with Clinton not playing as well. Clinton has been smashing it at Spurs and potentially losing that midfield battle. We introduced Hayley Ladd. They take out Grace Clinton. That's probably where it was changed a little bit as well. Jess, how did you see the first half up to the goal then? Do you think it was... I think somebody put a comment a bit further on saying here both teams look scared to risk a counter-attack. Do you think it was a bit like that, kind of working each other out and seeing how the game would flow from there?
Yeah, to be honest, I think, I don't think either side were particularly brilliant. I think if May doesn't make that block when she does, potentially we have a different game on our hands. But I think the way kind of United picked up into the second half, I think kind of goes to show a bit of improvement based on previous games where we might have carried on that form into the second half. As in just the play was just too slow. I think we were in control. Possession-wise, I think we were in possession, and other than that one kind of chance they had, I didn't feel like Spurs were particularly a problem, but we also were not really a problem for them. So I think the important thing was just to come out in the second half and really, up the performance, and to be fair to the girls, they did.
It certainly was. Not on this Laetitia block, that got celebrated like a goal from where we were. It was still really early in the game, but that block, I think we've all kind of referenced it. It was almost identical to the one last season. Obviously, when Beth England went round the keeper then, and pretty much had an open goal, and May was there to block it. This time, it was Earps' save. Obviously, that pushed into her, and Laetitia's there again in the right place at the right time. I'm sure we're going to talk more about Laetitia as the show goes on. Right, this first goal then. Should we clear this up in a one-word answer from each of you? Whose goal is it? I'll let anyone kind of just throw their...
Hannah's.
Blundell.
There we go. We're all agreed that it was that it was Blundell.
Do you know what I will say?
Agreed. Mark Skinner watched it and agreed. The pundits watched it and agreed. Man United changed it. They agreed. Everybody agrees except for the WSL, which does not bode well for them, if they're going to be taken over. Because, you need to get these things right.
Do you know what I will say? Oh, that was it. That's what I was going to say. Just stole my thunder. I was going to say, the Melvin's movement is, I think, what puts the keeper off. Because she makes a phenomenal run. And I think the keeper's probably expecting Malard to make contact with it and for it to go left back across the goal, which leaves the keeper very much flat-footed, and she's unable to respond. Well, she can't respond at all, I think. But also, I think Hayley Ladd did what we love Hayley Ladd for, and it's her that wins the ball back really high up the pitch. So two really key moments from Ladd and from Melvin, I think, that helped create that goal.
It was certainly confusing because I tweeted out the video, obviously, that we'd captured in the ground, and tweeted out Blundell's cross goes all the way in, and then comes up my phone, United admin, Mallard scores. No, she hasn't. Like they announced it in the ground as Blundell as well, so it was really good. And United admin kept tweeting it was definitely Malard, and then obviously after the game they have changed it, as Barry just said there. But Barry, for yourself,
also point out with that though, with the Blundell goal, it is her goal, but it shouldn't have been her goal. It's one of those where you can see what she's trying to do. You know, it should have been one of those that Malard does get a toe poke on and puts it past. So, you know, like you said, if she's not there, goalie probably collects that. All is well for them, but yeah, shouldn't have been, but was.
I was going to ask you, do you agree with what RC is saying here? You know, it's Blundell's goal, obviously, technically, but it doesn't go in without Malard's kind of movement again, putting the keeper off almost.
It shouldn't do, as I just said, shouldn't go in. But it's one of those horrible ones. Do you remember it used to be that free kicks were often being taken and they were always being put onto the far post, working on the theory that if the goalie's got to go for it, then the defender's going to try and get there. And even if they don't, it might just creep in at the back. It kind of had a little whiff of that about it. You know, one of those where you just sort of put it in a tricky position. I would have expected any goalkeeper worth their salt to have collected that if there hadn't have been Melvine, the duck, in front of her. Yeah, that's my assessment of the situation. So, yes, I would agree with RC. Spot on that one. You know, it does. It just does a little something to your periphery where you're wondering, am I going to get clattered here? Maybe the goalkeeper wasn't brave enough. Maybe she didn't feel like it. And good evening, John.
No, it's a fair point. I mean, Jess, how do you kind of see the goal? I said it's definitely a cross. Blundell's definitely not claiming that as a shot, I'm sure. But as the comment a bit further, I've just lost it now. Obviously, Ladd involved in the goal as well. Obviously, winning back higher up pitch was something we've not done a lot this season. But yeah, anything to add on the goal? And obviously, Mallard's movement off the ball in order for that to cross to go in at the back post.
Yeah, I mean, I think the Spurs defenders really need to do a lot better there. But so does the keeper. I kind of rewatched it again earlier, and looking at it again, knowing that kind of it's a Blundell goal, you just wonder how the keeper's not come out to claim it. But that being said, I think between the movement of like the United players, I think that just kind of causes a lot of confusion in the box. And a lot of times that's kind of all you need to get a bit of luck and for the ball to go in. I think in terms of the shot or cross or whatever you want to call it, it's kind of self. You're sort of taught in football to quite often, like from that position, just aim for that back post, basically. Because if you aim for the sort of back post, chances are it's going to be on target. But one little touch from any of the attackers, and it's also quite likely to go in. So sort of positional wise of the ball going in was pretty much spot on because obviously it goes straight in anyway, but if Malard does get a touch, then again, goal, easy. And I think it just caught the whole Spurs team off guard, to be honest.
No, it certainly did. I'm not going to look at you, Barry, because it set me off laughing.
Outrageous. Why?
I can see you sniggering away.
Me? Never. Not a snigger, it's a Snickers.
That's terrible. That's even worse than what you've just sent me. Anyway, the player of the match poll is in the chat. So there's 4, obviously, to vote for as always. They've all got a vote already, which I'd love to see. 4, you've got Malard, Laetitia, Ladd, or Ella Toon for this one. So get your votes in. We'll come back to that in about 40 minutes' time on that front. Ladd has to. Well, she is quite far out in front, so we shall see on that one. But don't let us affect your vote. We will. We'll come back to that. Vic mentioned there, yeah, it was Hannah's 150th appearance. To let her have that as well, indeed, which is quite an achievement for her as well. There was a comment a bit further up on Ladd. I just quickly wanted to bring up because I love RC because he does like the old wind up and a few interesting comments saying that. Can't even read it.
Why is he not saying that? Why are you not saying she's better than Mod Matty? Of course she is.
Okay, I just agree. But we will get on to that actually. We'll talk about her in more detail because she's.
Are we basically saying that Spain is a weaker league than England?
Wow, that's what he's saying there. Official rankings, we're the 4th best league. The WSL's ranked 4th
behind
the Bundesliga, the Spanish league, and was it the French one? I think is ahead of us.
Yeah, but competitively.
Yeah. Well, you say that.
Excitement or not.
Above the Americans, though, that's always fun.
I mean, I wouldn't moan if, like, United won the league every year. I literally wouldn't get bored of it.
You say that Chelsea win the league every year. Yeah, it's a tough conversation, isn't it? Because we still have the same pretty much top three, and Chelsea winning it every season. So are we a Farmers League as well? It's the conversation. So, I don't really want to get into that conversation because I could go down a right rabbit hole. Yeah, exactly. That's why the WSL is ranked fourth, because we don't do very well in Europe.
Yeah, but I'm talking about excitement. I'm not saying we've got the best teams. Obviously, we haven't. I thought we were talking about how exciting it is.
No, I just thought I'd mention the rankings because,
I guess
spot on with that. Spot on. It's not about the technicalities of how many teams go off and win in Europe, because you just said based on that, Rangers are like the best team, or Celtic are the best team in the world ever, because they've got about 500 trophies just in a season. But that's not the case. It's absolutely about excitement, and clearly you get those way more in the WSL than you do in others. So that I would 100% agree with.
I don't know if I fully agree. Against Spain, maybe, because Barcelona just win every game over there. I'm not in Germany and in France.
You think the German league is more exciting than the WSL?
Competitiveness, anyone can beat anyone over there, which they do for the most part. In England, Chelsea beat pretty much everybody apart from the teams in
they didn't this weekend, did they?
So
just saying.
Yeah. And Bayern are playing right now, which I think they're 1-0 up at the moment, so keep an eye on that one as well. And yes, Ian, you are right. England's coefficient is really bad, and United and Arsenal didn't help it this season by neither of us qualifying either. So, we shall see. What should we go on to next? Second half, then. As we've all kind of said, we came out in the second half, completely different side. I say completely different. It was more like the side we saw last season in terms of the high intensity, the pressing, and quicker passing, which is something we've not seen for a while. So, Charlie, I'll come to yourself first, but we'll look at the goals individually. But the performance overall in that second half, what do you think the big difference was between the first half and the second half? Was it as simple as we were just moving the ball quicker? Was there more intensity? What do you think it was that was massively different? Because it did look like two completely different sides.
I've forgotten the word that I want now, but it looked like they were just playing with a bit more intent. Whereas the first half, it looked like they were happy just to knock it about a little bit and not make a mistake. So sometimes we talk about this season as looking like they don't want to make a mistake. So everything's very safe. Whereas if you look at the second half, there were more what you might class as risks being taken. So I know we'll get to it, but Maya played a couple of phenomenal balls over the top. Whereas the first half, Melvin was making some really good runs, but the ball was never getting anywhere near, and no one was attempting those things. I assume Mark put a bit of a rocket up them as well. But just play with much more intensity. It wasn't just sort of Hayley Ladd as a lone wolf trying to win the ball back from the front. There was more from the wide forwards as well. And I think when we talk about the women's side, they've always been such an attacking threat. And when they don't do that, like they did in the first half, it's just miserable, isn't it? It's just miserable. But they really went for it in the second half. I think they realised Spurs were there for the taking, and Beth England wasn't going to last, which I think helped. It was inevitable that she would go off at some point, and she was their only major threat, really. But just greater intensity, move the ball quicker. Sorry for being rude. But much better performance. It's really hard to talk about if I can't mention the goals. So ask someone else, and then.
No, I think a lot of people are mentioning the passing. Obviously saying here that we were going forward instead of backwards all the time. I think Mike's saying there, they were more direct in the second half. Obviously you mentioned Maya. The one thing I noticed with her in particular, she was playing that long ball more in the second half, which is something we've been saying all season. Why did she stop doing that? Because it's something
Mike's talking about the press there. Like in the first half, we've seen it quite a lot this season where it looks like one player just goes and presses. You see it with the men's side sometimes where it's like one player will press the ball, which is absolutely pointless. It makes no sense. Like one person moving might trigger other people doing things. Whereas in the second half, you could see there was more of a system to how they were pressing. So one player was approaching the ball, someone else was cutting off the pass back to the keeper, and just boxing them in a little bit more. Because Spurs are better than they were before, because Rianne Skinner isn't there and she's dreadful. She's a dreadful coach. But they're still not as good as us. They're not as talented as we are. So We just needed to play with that higher intensity, and we were always going to have opportunities.
No, for sure. Just very quickly before anyone else jumps in, because it's been asked quite a few times now, obviously about Malard, but there is an option for a buy on her. I don't know what that is. I don't know what kind of money, but there is an option there. So it's whether we take that up. Or if they recall her from loan before we have the chance to do it, because that is also a possibility that could happen as well. But
we should just give them all the money for her, just all of it.
Yeah, I'm really intrigued to see what we do with her, to be honest. I think that's definitely going to be one to keep an eye on. If we're looking at other forwards as well, does that mean Malard we're not planning with her? I don't know. Based on current form, I'd be looking to keep her because she's actually scoring the goals right now. And she does. She certainly does, which is great to see. I would 100% be trying to keep hold of her right now. Baron, for yourself, so what do you think the big difference was? I said we'll talk about the goals in just a second, but the big difference, do you think, with the passing? Obviously, the pressing's been mentioned as well, and obviously, Charlie mentioned there. Obviously, Letitia playing that kind of more direct ball that we saw last season, that kind of diagonal to Galton or to the forwards, whoever it was.
Well, the difference was we scored 3 goals, so 2 more goals than we scored in the first half was the main difference. But I said it before, it's just the control that we had over the game. I mean, genuinely, I can see why there's people in the comments saying Spurs aren't a good team. I can see why they're saying that, because we did make them look distinctly average. They did not have what they would usually bring to the dance, really. And I think that for me was the big thing. The fact that we controlled the game better, as Charlie said, there was better passing, we were making better decisions, especially in the final third. We were having a go. I know that we're going to get to the goals, but all 3 of them come from either outside or just inside the box. They're not close-up goals, which, I mean, in theory, you could say pretty much all of them are outside the box, from Blundell scoring where she scored, but should have been a goal from around about the 6-yard box. So, yeah, I think that the key thing for me is just that we control. We played better. We had the lead. But I think we were like that last season. Last season, once we got a lead, we tend to control the game way better than we have done in previous seasons. We relax, and then we generally go on and score more. The biggest problem is always just getting that first goal. The game against Leicester is a prime example. 0-0 for absolutely ages until we finally nick the 1-0 win. Those games where we score relatively early and we get a goal in the first half, we've been way more adept, I think, at controlling the game and going on to score more. And I think deep down, that's the main thing that mattered in the game yesterday. It's the fact that we were able to go out there, pass better, as you say, press better. We just worked and we're a lot more cohesive. And of course, Spurs were a bit more tired as well. And when you put together a team that's on the up in terms of performance against a team that is getting more and more tired, only one result, and that was an absolute spanking.
I think as well, a lot of people talk about possession. It's something, if you listen to a lot of the United men's players that played in obviously the successful side in the late 90s and early 2000s, they talk about the fact that keeping possession for so long, wearing out the opposition, and then you score more late goals because the opposition are more tired because of what you've done earlier in the game in moving them side to side. You've got to obviously pass quicker for that to happen, because if you're passing the ball slow, you're not obviously using as much energy on the opposition and so on. But yeah, so I don't think it's a bad thing. I think that's something, as you said there, the control in the game that we did really well yesterday. Jess, you might have to drop out at any moment, because I know that you've got a delivery. No, not a delivery. You're selling something. But so you might have to drop out while I ask you this question, but I'll come to you anyway. What do you think the big difference was in the second half?
I think it was just a little bit more intensity. I think we were sort of doing the same thing that we've been doing for the first half. We were just doing it with more intensity, and things were kind of coming off a little bit better. I think there was clearly some sort of game plan, and the players sort of stuck to it, and then into the second half just sort of cranked up through the gears. I think getting that first goal when we did was sort of perfect timing, because it then meant the second half just looked comfortable. And well, easy, to be honest. Everyone seemed to kind of know what they were doing, and it just flowed. I think there was a lot of sort of good progression, a lot of like progressive passes that we've maybe not seen. And the players just looked like they were kind of enjoying it as well, which we've maybe not seen too much of at recent times. Obviously it's easier when you're winning. as soon as kind of you start conceding goals, that blame culture that we've spoken about quite a few times can creep into things. But it just looked more like the team that we've kind of come to expect. And one thing that I really kind of noticed watching the game was when the subs came on, just who we were bringing on at that time. I think it was Garcia and Jace we brought on. And I was just thinking at this point, we were like 2 or 3-0 up and like we're bringing these players on off the bench. And then obviously bringing Rachel Williams on towards the end as well. And you just sort of thinking like, wow, this is like a good team. You know, anything can kind of happen from here. More goals. That is all we want, basically.
No, need to stop laughing. But no, I do agree on that front. I think it's obviously there's a couple of comments talking about Ladd and obviously about Zellum as well. I think we'll get to obviously that midfield combination when we talk about Ladd in more detail. But Charlie, I'll come to you obviously for this second goal because there's so many good things about this goal. The pass from Laetitia into Malard is exactly what we know Laetitia can do and that we haven't seen much of this season, but that kind of pass bypassing the midfield straight into the forwards. And then the pass from Malard into Toon is another exceptional one. And then Tooney just doing what we know she can do, chipping over the keeper, the composure, and a brilliant start to the second half. No?
Yeah, it was good, wasn't it? It was like Maya played the ball that we've been screaming for her to play for weeks, if we're being honest. But yeah, it's very Fellaini-esque from Melvin, wasn't it? Very Fellaini-esque. Less elbows, but yeah, chested it down really well and sort of on the half turn. What a brilliant ball. Yeah, it was almost from her like the perfect striker's performance, I think, from Melvin for us this week. But yeah, great from Tooney. It looked like the ball was a bit further away from her, I think, when she chased after it because of our perspective where we were, because I was worried the keeper was going to come out and clatter her. So I think she was pretty brave. But yeah, nice little dink over the top. I think that sort of goal is embarrassing for the keeper, isn't it? But she needed it as well. I think there's so much pressure on her, and she's been playing pretty well for the last few weeks, but she loves nothing more than a goal, I think, Tooney, really, in front of a packed away end. So yeah, really pleased for her, but a wonderful goal. And just so efficient and effective. But I think in the first half, Connor, at half time, we might have said that United were just so slow, and a couple of times Spurs got in, it's because they just did things really quickly, played the right pass really quickly, and that was one of the first times we did it, and it led to a pretty good goal. But yeah, and that was it. Then Spurs were deflated, and then we kind of did what we were doing last season, which was pop 2 or 3 more in and make it a bit of a cricket score, which was nice.
I was going to say, I turned to Andrew as soon as that goal went in, like a minute or so later. I was like, it's all right, we've won now. And he was like, will you shut up, don't you? I was like, no, it's fine. Spurs are scoring 2 or 3. So, but no, I think, yeah, I agree with everything you just said on that one. Jess, I'll come back to yourself because I don't know when you're going to, it's like just like waiting for you to.
I'm sat on a little Ring doorbell now, just waiting for Carol's boyfriend to appear so I can give him this cabinet. To be honest with you, I'm quite concerned because it's a big cabinet and I am just by myself going to have to help this guy. So if none of you see me again, I've been murdered or kidnapped and it's Carol's boyfriend. So you've got to avenge me, please. So I shouldn't be coming back on after a short break. But if I don't, then you've got to come and find me.
How long do we give it before we have to get worried? Because I'm already getting anxious now.
Not being funny, if I was Jess, I would stay off just until the end of the show.
Because I'm going to get this cabinet out of my house into like some guy's car.
Or even worse, what if, as you're taking the cabinet downstairs, you accidentally fall in and you end up in Narnia and can't get back?
Well, also I'm having visions of, if anyone's seen Friends, when Joey's like sell that entertainment unit and the guy's like, can you fit in there? And he's like, yeah. Yeah. And they lock him in. And I'm also concerned that might happen and then my entire gaff will just get robbed.
So many problems.
So there's a lot of variables that could happen.
But you're not catastrophizing at all. It's fine.
So it's fine. So, sorry, Connor, what did you actually want to ask me?
Tooney's goal.
Oh,
yeah, what Barry said.
Just love it. And just, is there anything actually more iconic than an Ella Toon chip? But no, seriously, I think she really deserved it. You know, she's had a lot of criticism the last just off and on for the last couple of years, to be honest. And she's really picked up form the last couple of games. And not only kind of was the chip sort of icing on the cake, she played really well. I think she's one of the main reasons that going into that second half, we kind of looked so good. I thought her movement was really good, good on her feet. I think she's kind of maturing a lot. Her game's improving. I think if she can carry on kind of with the good decision making that we're seeing at the minute, then sort of old Tooney's back again.
Yeah, no, I fully agree with your point on that. I was laughing at Jake's comment here, Can you imagine? They just come up and just live streamed on it.
Yeah, I'm going to leave my laptop on, so if I do get robbed, they'll come in here and be like, what the hell's going on?
Oh, who would have thought, on a random Monday night? Barry, for yourself, what do you make of... I guess I'll incorporate Tooney's whole performance into it as well. Obviously, the goal as well, as we said, we've been screaming out for Maya to play those passes we know she can do into the forwards. And, Malard's ball over the top is exactly what we want. Obviously, that forward. And Tooney making that run, beyond the striker. And we know she's got that finishing ability, able to do the things like that.
We do. A couple of questions and points just to throw out there. First of all, is there anything more iconic than Nella Toon chip? Yes, Connor's quiff.
James has gone for Garcia and swearing as well.
Yeah, I saw that one, but I feel like your quiff is probably slightly more iconic. Had I known that Jess was going to say that, I'd have had a certain picture ready to go and we could have thrown that out, but never mind. And secondly, if we do end up seeing the robbers on Jess's laptop, is it going to be like an All for United version of Home Alone? Has Jess got some stuff ready to go? Is it going to be like a paint can straight in the robber's face?
Maybe I should set booby traps just in case.
I feel like we've missed a trick there, rather. But with regards to Ella Toon, very simple. We said that she was not quite in the form that we needed her to be in, but we've also said it just feels like hundreds of times that she is one of those players who can pull out a bit of magic. The chip was magical, but actually, as you say, the build-up to it was just as important. The ball from Mary Earps to Maya Le Tissier obviously gave her the license to just run forward a little bit and as we say, make that ball that we know that she's capable of doing, finding the forward speeds and giving them a chance to either hold up the ball or to make that decision to try and break the line. And that's exactly what Melvine did. She broke the line brilliantly with the pass. And more importantly, as you say, Ella Toon with just an outstanding run to get there before the goalkeeper. It's one of those teasing balls, the ones that makes the goalkeeper think, can I get there? And, I've been having nightmares about these sorts of balls over the last few weeks because the goalkeepers have a split second. See you later, Charlie. The goalkeepers have a split second to make that decision. And if they don't do it straight away, it's a problem. If they take just a minute to hesitate, just a second to hesitate, a split second to hesitate, it's game over. The striker's going to get there in front of you. And if they do, chances are that's going into the back of the net. That's exactly what happened there. I think the goalkeeper just hesitated slightly. Ella Toon didn't, knew exactly what was coming and exactly what was going to happen. And in she goes, sticks it over the goalie. And that's 2-0. And it was absolutely brilliant. And if there was ever going to be somebody who wanted to score the second goal, it was Ella 2-0. Absolutely.
I missed a trick on the tweet there, didn't I? Thinking about it now. Yeah. I didn't think of that at the time.
It's all right. You remembered the Norway bit today. That's very good.
I know. I was really happy with that one. If people did see the tweet earlier for the advent calendar, that was actually me that came up with the pun for this one. So it's been Barry for the previous 10 days, but
no, yesterday you did the Garcia one as well.
There was no pun in that one though, unfortunately.
Was there not?
Oh. No, I couldn't think of one in time. And Rob and Andrew were at my front door waiting to drive down to London.
That's right. Blame Rob and Andrew left.
So I had to quickly get that one out. Everyone's still on about the robbers here. I don't know what's going on. Indeed, that would probably scare them off, to be honest. If I started asking that question.
Imagine that. Just before you nick that picture on the wall there, guys. How would you eat a burger?
Kidnap me. I need to know how you eat your burger.
Be unreal.
Yes. See, there we go. That can be my thing to warden off robbers, because they certainly wouldn't nick anything from my house if they saw that, would they? They'd be like, oh, God, stay away from him.
Don't know what you're capable of.
Yes, I don't know. Charlie, you want to talk us through the third goal as well? Obviously, Malard got this one. Probably should have been a penalty before this on Ladd. I mean, it should have been, in my opinion, on that one. But Malard does put it away, and I think that's probably why we didn't get the penalty, is because Malard put it in the back of the net within 2 seconds of Ladd going down. But yeah, again, I guess I'll incorporate Mallard's whole performance into this in terms of what you made of her. Obviously, and there was a lot of conversation in the comments a bit further on about should she be starting as the 9, and that's the conversation we've been having on here for a while. Do you think, again, after that kind of cements that conversation, she is our number 9 and should be starting there?
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. No doubts about it. I think, like I said, her all-round performance last night was the perfect performance, I think, or as perfect as we've seen so far from one of our forwards this season. I think, obviously, it was almost Poacher's goal, so in the right place at the right time for the first one, and then a really well-taken goal, perfect placement for her own. But I think her hold-up play was incredible, so that the sort of biggest strength of Russo's that we had, Melvin seems to have that covered. And she's also incredibly technically gifted with the ball at her feet as well. So she can come deep and win the ball, but makes things happen and commits defenders. And I think she anticipates really well. We've seen a few of her goals, haven't we, where she anticipates where the ball's going to be and that something's going to happen. And I think when she doesn't start, we sometimes miss a presence in the box. Loads of lovely build-up play from the wings and from Jason, and there's often not that person there to put the ball in the back of the net, and she's been pretty good at that for us as well. So yeah, really, really pleased with her, and I hope that we keep her. I really hope that we do. If there's an option, if we get first option and we're allowed to buy her, I think it'd be mad not to, unless someone particularly special comes along. But then again, if you want to compete with the best, you need more than one brilliant forward, don't you? So keep her and go for someone else as well. But the goal was really good. Again, it was reminders of last season. So I think Blundell won the ball back halfway into the attacking half, which we saw a lot of last season. And brilliant play from Hayley Ladd. My friend next to me said she reminded him of Maradona, a Maradona-esque run from Hayley Ladd, jinking through some defenders. But yeah, it was a disgusting tackle, absolutely disgusting. And again, everything that's wrong with football officiating, that you cannot go back and penalise the player that did that tackle just because someone scored. But yeah, beautifully taken goal. And I love her. Isn't she like... I'm too old to say this, but this is what people keep saying, that she's an absolute vibe. And I think I know what that means. She's just so positive, isn't she? And just seems like a nice person to be around, which you need when things aren't always going your way. But yeah, brilliant character, brilliant footballer. Can't believe we got her, really. She was a last-minute signing, wasn't she? It was a bit like, this is a weird one. But she's been amazing. And if there's that option to buy that we can trigger and the ball's in our court, I really hope we do.
You can see it at the end as well. Check out the All-For-Unitedvids Twitter for this, but you can see her at the end when she's walking around in front of us. She's engaging with the crowd and really getting. I think the
other players love her as well. You can see that. You can see that as well, can't you? I think she's very much. She's not about herself. I think she's very much a team player as well. It's about the team.
Yeah, I think you can see that on the pitch as well, and obviously off it. Post game as well. The pictures of her and Jade in particular were very nice to see as well after full time on that one. Obviously, a lot of conversation. Sarah saying, Malard's a post was kind of weighing in the box. It's what we need from a number 9. It's something we spoke about pretty much last season as well, that we need a striker that is actually a striker. Although we didn't do too bad last season, but I do agree on that front that having a proper number 9 that can hold the ball up and bring others into play certainly makes us a better team. Jake's pretty much saying the same thing there. Hard to argue for someone else to start as 9. Barry, I'll come to yourself first on this one, because I think Jess is just about to drop out.
Just remember, come find me if you don't see me again. I'll be back soon. Goodbye.
Hopefully we see you later on in the show.
She's turned the camera off. Oh, God.
I hope she's going to be like that MI6 operative, the one that no one talks about anymore, that ended up locked inside his own duffel bag and did it himself. Do you remember that? It was in the news, right, as a one-off. An MI6 officer was found dead in his shower in a duffel bag, locked from the outside, and then it was in the news once, and then it was never spoken about again. I'm worried that's going to happen. They're going to find her in 3 years.
It would be spoken about again, because Jess is an MI6
locked from the outside. And if you don't see me again, it's because I've mentioned that MI6 officer. Maybe I shouldn't have. I don't forget. It blows my mind. True crime.
I'd never heard of that. I've got to be honest. I
I'm
love
sending
a bit
you
of
a
true
link.
crime as well.
I'll send
I
you
have
a link.
heard of that story, Connor.
Huh? Oh, just
That's
me
what
then.
the police decided. It was an accident. Locked himself in his own duffel bag from the outside, and then popped himself in the shower in the bag.
Like
We're
David
thick.
Blaine. Perhaps it was David Blaine.
We're thick. Anyway, go on. What we're talking about? Melvin, what a legend.
Yeah, it was over to you, Barry, for Melvin and the third goal, obviously.
Okay, well, I can do that. First things first, 10 out of 10 Blundell. Spurs trying to play out from the back and struggling a little bit like we have done at times. Rather than having a Maya Letitia-esque person who can play the ball from defence to the heart of attack, they absolutely failed. They tried to put the ball into the midfield. Blundell's just there, gets herself in with a good toe. And then obviously you've got Tooney and Ladd who do the hard work. And it was hard work, to be fair. You know, they took out the player they needed to take out. And before you know it, Ladd's into the box. I've got to be honest, I don't think it's not even close to being a penalty for me. Absolutely. Oh, she's back.
That was ridiculously quick.
I know. I thought that was going to be an absolute nightmare. But no, some nice scouse man turned up, just picked it up and just left in his van.
Have you got your cash?
Happy days.
Yes.
How much have you got?
I have 70 of His Majesty's Great British Pounds.
Wow. Did you not tell him you could have gone to IKEA and got a wardrobe for less than that?
Honestly, I should have said, like, please, I would have given it away for free just to get it out of my house. So
Nice,
But he's
mate.
giving you money instead. Happy
Exactly.
days.
So good time. So sorry for that brief little.
Like, we just pleased you back because the minute you turn that camera off, we panicked slightly. So good stuff. But yeah, I don't think it was a penalty. It gets the ball first. If that's the other way around and that's Millie Turner going in on a Spurs player, I'm not seeing it. So it would be no penalty for me. Gets the ball first. Is it a tough challenge? Absolutely. Is it a cruncher? Absolutely. Nothing wrong with that in my book. Get the ball first. Perfectly fair. So absolutely not a penalty in a million years for me. And what did matter was that Melvin Malard with that just delicious left foot straight into the back of the net. Goalkeeper no chance. So yeah, for me, happy days.
Yeah, to be fair, I've not actually watched it back. I'm going off what I saw in real time. So in the ground, where we were, it looked like a
You look
penalty.
at it, you go, crikey, that's a penalty.
red.
But no, not on review.
Straight red.
Who said straight red?
I don't know.
You need to have a word with whoever that is in LSB making that sort of ridiculous comment. Outrageous. And on the flip side from that as well, what I want to know is how many cabinet transactions MT's seen on the internet. Because
I mean, that's my first one. So but you know, there could be scope for more in the future.
clearly there's a dedicated channel for this sort of thing, all for cabinets.
Sorry, I was typing something.
It's like Connor's gone. He's like, nah, not interested.
It's because I was replying to somebody there. Anyway, yes, Jess, go on, talk us through the third goal and now you're back and Mallard's, I guess, overall performance in the game.
I thought she was pretty phenomenal again, to be honest. I think she really has been one of our best players. Kind of going back to what we were saying just before I briefly vanished, I think she is someone that we need to try and keep. Like you said, she's slotted in with the team really well, and it seems to be both kind of on and off the pitch, spitting in really well. So that kind of chemistry, I really want to see her kind of staying in the United shirt. The goal was really well deserved. And from where she was, kind of pretty clever as well. You know, she had a defender in front of her. I think the goalkeeper was kind of left a bit short-sighted, not being able to see maybe properly, but positioning-wise, like putting that in the bottom corner, just a really, really good and clever finish.
Indeed, and it came again. You know, I think Barry, you said it earlier about scoring at the right times. I think it did, and that essentially did kill the game at that point. I know I said it at 2-0, but I think at that point it really was home and dry then, and Spurs were definitely not getting back into it. You know, in the last kind of 30 minutes was essentially could we get any more and kind of bump up our goal difference a little bit, especially when I think Jason Garcia came on about 5 or 6 minutes or so after that third goal. We'll talk about the fourth goal, and obviously then that will kind of lead us into Hayley Ladd's kind of overall contribution to the game, because she deserves her own kind of, I guess, piece in this. Charlie, what do you make of obviously the goal itself, but overall Ladd's impact in the game and the kind of job that she did in midfield?
Really good. Excellent performance from her. Freed up, I think, Zellum to do more of what she'd rather do, which is be pinging balls around and creating chances and not having to marshal that back line, which is not necessarily her strong point. It's not the worst to see it, but it's not her strongest point. But yeah, great performance. Like we talked earlier, didn't we, about her winning the ball back fairly high up. And I think now she's come back into the side, you obviously see what she offers. I also think that midfield three of Tooney, Zellum and Ladd are so used to playing together, and it was so successful last year that perhaps that was something that helped as well, having that usual midfield trio. But she was good, and I think she deserved her goal. I always think her goals look like they're moving in slow motion at half speed.
I thought it had gone over the bar from where we were. I've got to be honest. It looked
bizarre,
really,
wasn't it?
because it was dead centre as well. Like it looked like it shouldn't have gone in. Like,
I thought the keeping was strange from there. Keeper was very strange. Like her performance just seemed a bit odd. But again, really well taken, because she put a foot through it straight away, didn't she? It was nice. Garcia came on and made herself a nuisance, which we liked seeing last season. And it was nice that from her again. Got herself into the box. She was busy, didn't she? Made herself a yard of space, and then Hayley put it away. Just weird. Like if you like the City goal against City last season, she pinged from 18 yards. It was like it was literally on like half speed. It's so weird how she does that. But yeah, great all-round performance from her.
it was weird because I hardly registered that it had gone in. Like I said, because the shot is dead centre from where we were, obviously above the goal. It looked like it was over anyway. It was a weird old goal, that one. NT, I'm going to star that comment and come back to it in just a second. Jess, what do you make of Ladd's overall performance in the game, and just her, obviously the goal, getting that fourth one?
Sorry, what have you just done there? What magic was this that I'm unaware of yet? I see the star that's just up on our thing. What does that do?
I found this out on Friday's show. Yeah, you can pin comments now by StreamYard behind the scenes. It's a lifesaver, so you don't have. So
you click on that, and then it's easy to see the ones you want to go back.
You don't have to keep scrolling back through the chat. It's honestly a lifesaver. Can't believe we've never noticed it before. So NT, I'm coming back to that. Don't you worry. Go on, Jess. Talk to me.
Ladd, I thought was incredible, to be honest. I think we talk a lot about players kind of taking their opportunities when they can. When we see a lot of players that maybe haven't started too many games coming on and not really being up to scratch, but I think she's just proved kind of why she shouldn't be left out. In leagues and teams like we have with United, you've got to take your opportunities, and boy, did she do it. I think she deserved a start, and she absolutely nailed it. I thought her performance was fantastic, and kind of similar to Tooney, she really deserved to get a goal. And her finish was just really clever, to be honest. A lot of people would want to kind of take touch there and try and smack it into one of the corners. But just to do that little kind of dink was just pretty impressive, to be honest. Not really sure what the keeper was doing, but again, like we kind of said before, I think keeper went rogue a couple of times with some questionable positioning and things like that. But can only play what's in front of you, and I thought just a really, really good goal, really well worked. And I think in some other games, we might have panicked along that front, and someone like Garcia, who kind of held the ball up and made that pass, taking the time, would have just tried to smack it against defenders. And it just goes to show that a bit of patience in the final third can actually pay off really well.
No, it certainly can. And Barry, you kind of, I guess, wrap up obviously on Ladd and the fourth goal, and we've kind of renamed. I think Sarah's just started this. Obviously, Ladd Matty now is now the thing. Obviously, with the Bon Matty comparison earlier on in the show. Her, I guess overall, we all kind of said that it was likely going to be her that comes in. Obviously, with Mia's out and missing out, but I guess the importance of having her there, and it's been referenced quite a few times in the chat earlier on, that it makes, for me, and people seem to agree in the chat, it makes Element 2 look better, knowing that Ladd is there as that kind of. They know that they can kind of leave it to that kind of defensive side of the game, and those two can focus on creating.
Well, I mean, of course, having Hayley Ladd's always going to be helpful. She's 12 players. So, it gives you the chance to play with 22 players. And quite frankly, any team should be winning if they got 22 players playing, even if 12 of them are one. Even the Spice Girls, so that when 12 become one. I need some lad like I've never needed. I don't want to sing that anymore. But just decided that's not for me. No, I think genuinely that we do this a lot, don't we, as football fans? And it's quite entertaining. Somebody comes in, has a really good game. Next thing you know, that person should start, become the president, and be the new person that goes in for, yes, that song, JJ, that song. And all of a sudden they are the next best thing since sliced bread. It's just seen it there from Vic about Garcia as well, deserved a start over Galton. I think these things generally need to be based over a few games. I think that certainly Hayley's done enough to be given another chance, another game. And I think also when you look at last season, she was, again, instrumental, a fantastic player in the centre of the pitch for us. In fact, as a first choice centre midfield, the lads, Zellum and Toon trio was one that I can remember sticking up for many times last season. And the reason for that was because they did so well. They reached an FA Cup final and almost won the league. So I think when you look at those sorts of things, absolutely, Hayley Ladd's always going to be one of those who should be in there. Again, the lad, Zellum and Toon trio works incredibly well for Manchester United. We've got some excellent other players as well. Lisa Nolson's very good. But Guerrero obviously being another one. But these are players that will need time to bed in. The goal itself from Hayley Ladd is spectacular. I'm sure I've seen her score one very similar to that before, but the ball's just straight into the middle of the area for her, really. And again, it's just another one of those which is pick that one out. The goalkeeper's just got no chance, really. We made it really difficult for them. So I think for me, superb performance, without question, is going to be given the Player of the Match award, I would imagine, because she did just cover every blade of grass and work incredibly hard. But equally, I'm not going to sit here and start going, well, that's it. This is definitely the answer. I think it's a good start, and we need to see more of this. We don't want the inconsistency of doing incredibly well in this game and then the players not performing in another one, which we get far too often as a Manchester United team, just across the board at the moment. So quietly optimistic, cautiously optimistic, perhaps one would say. But yeah, what a performance from Hayley Ladd. Absolutely brilliant.
I think that's the thing. People were saying in the chat earlier that, she shouldn't have been dropped in the first place. There was a reason why she was dropped after the first couple of games, because Ladd in the first couple of games was one of those underperformers. But when Ladd is on form, as we saw yesterday, for me, she's one of the first names on the team sheet because she's that important to what that midfield can do and the team overall. I think we just look so much more comfortable and much more balanced having her there. So when she's on form, 100% for me, she goes in. And it's up to the other positions can sort themselves out. Going on here, there's a lot of chat about Galton as well. I think that's just obviously off the back of what you just said there. Talking obviously about Leah as well. Obviously, we did see Garcia come in. I'll come back to that because obviously we are going to come back to obviously the Connie Cup as well. There's a quick question from Sarah. If and when Hinnie is fit, do you keep her and go with Ladd? Or keep her or go with Ladd? Or both? That's an open to anyone, whoever wants to take that one.
As I'm off, I'll just kick straight off with that. You go with, and my opinions on this. I was delighted, actually. I watched the Emma Hayes interview after the Man United game yesterday. She's done an interview with Nasser Hussain. I'm not entirely sure how he got involved in being able to do interviews on Sky. But there we go. Apparently, the bloke who does cricket is now the new person to come in and interview women's managers. And she said that the culture at Chelsea, she straight up said what I always say, which is that the best way to get results and consistency is to keep the same team. But obviously they can't do that at Chelsea because she's got people that she needs to keep happy. For me, if Hayley Ladd's playing well, Hayley Ladd stays. It doesn't matter who's just come back. It doesn't matter if, I don't know, Sam Kerr's just popped in or Bon Marty or whoever it is you want to talk about. It's irrelevant. At the end of the day, if Hayley Ladd's playing well, Hayley Ladd starts, and Hinny will just have to come off the bench and earn her place, which is how football should work.
No, I tend to agree with that, and I think the comments are kind of agreeing with you as well. Obviously, talking about the balance. He's a great player. As I said, I wouldn't expect to see her anytime soon. So we'll see we don't know how she's going to come back. Obviously, when we get official confirmation of what the injury is and so on. So it depends where we are in the season. Like Barry said, if Ladd's still on firing form, and so is Ella Mattoon when we get around to that point, there's no need to change that. If we're continuously winning games, we can get there. Charlie, I'll come back to this question. I was just about to, that I've pinned for you, NC's comment there, and I think this is in reference to a show a while ago. I think it was a City preview when obviously you mentioned about swapping the goalkeepers around there, which it was all hypothetics of the game. Obviously, it was not factual in any way. Yeah, do you think Mary's performance was good enough, or do you still want her out?
Well, she'd have a lot to do, did she? So no clangers. I always wish she would play the ball out quicker at times. That is a frustration that I have. She collects the ball quickly at times and then just holds on to it for ages, which kind of stifles any attacks. But I'm not bothered. If you want to be there, you want to be there, and if you don't, go away.
Can I answer this question?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, she goes. I've seen still nothing from Mary Earps that tells me she wants to be at this football club. The minute she makes a mistake for Man United, it's everybody else's fault. The minute she makes a mistake in England, the waterworks are coming on, she's gutted, it's the terrible life, oh my goodness. Honestly, the attitude on that lady just absolutely stinks the place out. PTJ for goal. Now.
Yeah, I pretty much agree. I think performance-wise, like Charlie said, I don't think she did enough above average. But I think even if she'd have turned up and made 2 incredible, absolute worldie saves, I think her attitude up until this point, and probably from this point until January, hasn't been great in terms of professionalism or anything like that. So for me, it's not even a question of performance. It's a question of her as a person, basically. And I don't think she wants to be at the club. Looking at her, I think I've said this before, that every time she makes a save, she looks like she's doing everyone else a favour, which I don't like, and it's not something we've seen from her until this season. So for me, she's clearly not happy at the club anymore. Fine, whatever. Then we've got another great keeper, so I think we need to start seeing more of Fallon. And that's probably what I would want to focus on from now. Like, how are we going to fit Fallon into this team? Because quite honestly, I'd like to be sort of seeing her already.
Yeah, no, I tend to agree. I don't really have anything to add on. I think people know my thoughts on it by now. I think just get to January and see where we are then. There's no point in having that conversation who's going to play in the WSL, because it is going to be Earps next Sunday against Liverpool. I think when we talk about Thursday, there's obviously a little bit more rotation being in the Conti Cup, but there's no chance Earps is not playing next weekend.
It's still not going to be in the WSL next season. The chances of Mary Earps staying just seem to vanish each game. And again, the world and his mate knows how much I love Mark Skinner and how much rope I will give that guy. But quite frankly, if we end up getting to the end of this season and Mary Earps has left the club and PTJ has barely played, then I'm going to be sending the boys round to give a little knock on the door and go, "Oi, what you doing, Skinner? Why have you done that?" Because now we've got to just bed this keeper in through pre-season when we could have already had her bedded in and have her as a cemented number one rather than one that needs to get used to a new defence.
You're going to be sending Carol's boyfriend around. That's what you're going to be doing, ain't you?
Absolutely. Look how quick he moved the cabinet. Just imagine how quickly Skinner would come around to my way of thinking. Like seconds.
Yeah. I'll be on the phone to Carol and being like, "Yo, you need to send your fella around again. We've got places to be."
You'd be like, "Hey, Skinner, calm down, will you? And play the right players."
That was a good accent, you know.
I know.
Thank you very
Not
much.
bad, though. I was going to say. Yeah, if Mary hadn't signed until January, yeah. And we have this conversation every week, and I think this is the problem. In regards to the question, obviously, that was brought on screen in terms of the game, she didn't have anything to do. She made the saves when she needed to. A lot of them, were very, for me, dramatic. I've got to be honest. Very much like at her, and she's diving like she's made a one-handed save in the top corner, and I feel like it's a little bit for camera. She's not the only keeper that does that, so I'm not just going to single her out. There's a lot of keepers that do that, but yeah, she just didn't have a lot to do. Yeah, which is testament to the back line and the team defensively, that they obviously kept Spurs out for the majority of it. Yeah, I agree with what Charlie said though. But I think it's me, Andrew, and Rob were talking about this in the ground, that there was so many times on the counter attack where it's like, right, go, and she'd like do that thing where she calms it all down and slows it. Oh, come on! Like, what are we stopping the game for? Like, yeah, that's incredibly frustrating. Yes, there was one in the first half where she did right in front. I turned to Andrew that's for the cameras, because it was such a slow shot. It was right at her.
Meant, like, he literally leapt into the air, but because the ball was so close to her, she just had to sort of like leap up and then sort of do that.
Yeah, it was an interesting one. Right, we'll kind of we'll wrap the player of the match poll up, and then we'll just have a quick discussion on Leicester for the last kind of 5-10 minutes of the show. Charlie, I'll start with yourself. Who have you gone for player of the match and why?
I voted the Duck. I went for Melvin, the mighty Duck, for player of the match. I thought it was just a brilliant all-round performance. Hold-up play was brilliant. She brought other players into the game from an attacking point of view. She assisted a goal. She scored a goal. She had brilliant movement that bamboozled the keeper, which led to the first one creeping in at the far post that it shouldn't have done. And I just think she works tirelessly, and her attitude is exactly the sort of attitude I would want of a Manchester United player. Absolutely brilliant.
Barry, who would you have gone for? Well, who have you gone for and why?
Well, I didn't click anything on YouTube, Connor, because didn't really see the point. I felt like I knew he was going to win. I think all of them have got, decent reasons for being up there. Sometimes we're looking at these 4 people that we put up there, and really we believe there's only 2 or 3 that could have got it. And whilst I, think there probably was only one person that was going to win it, I think Malard was superb. Again, an assist platoon, scored her own goal, was pivotal in Hannah Blundell's goal as well. And equally, you could say also the last one. So I think some brilliant work from young Malard. She was superb. Tooney, absolutely brilliant as well. Superb goal, little lob. And I think back to her very best. Laetitia, if it wasn't for her, we could have been 1-0 down early doors, facing the prospects for a much different match. So all 3 of them 100% could be chosen. I can see why it is that Chazza went for the mighty Melvin. But for me, it was number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12. Hayley Ladd. Without doubt. Just superb.
I'm intrigued to see if Jess is going to go for it and see if she's going to agree with you or with Charlie on this one in terms of...
Jess was good for her. She'll be agreeing with whoever she wants to agree with.
I am a bit torn, but I am going to go for, yes, just like our girl Nat, I am torn and nothing is right. No, I'm going to go for Ella too, because I just love it, to be honest. I think she's just sick. It was between her and Ladd, to be honest.
Well, you might have been Natalie and Bergia, but you're going to have to pick me up off the floor, because I did not see that coming.
No, I'm going for Tooney. I think, she's struggled a little bit off and on, like I kind of said before, the past kind of 18 months maybe. And it's just good to see her getting back to her best. Will absolutely special mention to Hayley Ladd, though, because she was phenomenal. But, yeah, for me, Tooney, because just love her, and that chip just brought back some good memories.
Which means, Connor, that actually the deciding vote from the panel is probably going to come from you. And I have to say, through various chats, I know there's been a lot going on about what we're going to call Connor's Quiff Twitter. And I finally got it. The name has come to me after seeing it in a chat. It was superb. We are going to name him Quiff Richard. I just think he's brilliant. So You and Quiff can have the final vote.
Well, I'm going to have to go for mayor now, and I just to make it four different names on the panel. Let the comments decide. No, I think Barry, you're right. I think everyone's got a shout on this one. I wouldn't be against any of them winning it. I think Mayor was back to. There was a comment just a second ago, NT saying, Mayor doesn't get enough praise. She's not been at the level she was last year, but she's still top and only improved. 100. I think people forget how young she still is, and what she does defensively for the team, and also offensively, actually getting us up the pitch when she's able to play those passes. It helps out massively. So I think she's got a great shout. Tooney's obviously got a shout as well. I'm torn now. Charlie sold me on the Mallards.
So many names today.
The mighty duck.
I am gonna go
Malard actually,
because you're a disgrace.
I think
you're an actual disgrace. You've spent all day to me telling me how brilliant Hayley Ladd was, best game ever, honestly the greatest play you've ever seen, even better than Ronaldo, all that jazz coming in. And now all of a sudden, no, I'm going to go with Melvin Mallard. Absolutely disgraceful.
What John Commode's saying here, Mallard impacted 3 of the goals as well. And I think Land was exceptional. She could have, she has won it. The poll is there. She has won the poll. But for me personally, I'm just going to go for Mallard because I think she is exactly what we need in terms of a number 9. Ladd is exactly what we need as number 6. But in terms of the votes, Hayley Ladd did win it with 53, Malard on 31, Letitia on 9, and Tooney on 5. So those two a little bit further out in front on that one. Yes, indeed. Some people clearly 31% agree with me, so I'm taking that, and Charlie as well.
Every single one of them could easily have won it for different reasons. I'm just shocked at your hypocrisy.
Shocking. Right, the kind of final question. Obviously, we're talking about Leicester midweek on Thursday night. Charlie, 2-part question. 1, your score prediction, and 2, who would you want to see play in terms of change? Because we know we're going to see changes because it's the Conti Cup, and we've seen loads in the last couple of games that we've played. And to be fair, we've won both and kept 2 clean sheets, so it can't be going that bad with the change that we're making. But yeah, is there anyone you particularly you want to see, or anyone you want to see rested, and also your prediction for Thursday?
Fallon, bring on the Fallon. I think the midfield 3 will be the same because I'm not really sure how many changes we can make because all the other midfielders are injured at the moment. Oh no, Lisa might come in, so you might bring the Nalsund in, the tank in. Maybe Rachel Williams will come in and start, and perhaps Jace, who we saw flashes of brilliance again, didn't we, at the end of the game? Just found decision making still not what we want it to be. But yeah, I expect maybe 4 changes. I don't think we'll go wholesale. I think keeps will change. I think same back 4. I don't expect that to change. I think Nalsund will come in, Garcia and Williams, I think will be the changes. And I just hope we beat them, the pigs. Like, that draw haunts me. That absolutely haunts me.
I didn't expect to say that.
Absolutely dreadful we were at the weekend again. Just a bit.
Yeah, I'm not quite sure how we managed to draw that. And every other team seems to be beating them, but there we are. That's the nature of the WSL. Jess, for yourself, is there anyone, Vic's saying there, or your double as the chat earlier on. She's going Lisa in for Toon, Garcia in, and also Gemma Evans going in as well. Is there anyone else for you that you want to see or rested or anything?
I think obviously Fallon is the one that we probably all want to see. I actually just had to have a quick look at our full squad from the weekend because quite honestly I couldn't remember who was injured, seeing as it's basically everyone is injured. I don't know whether Turner's still carrying like a bit of a knock. Obviously with her coming off slightly before the end of the game. And I know she picked up something a couple of weeks ago. For me, yeah, I think make a couple of changes, maybe look at the team that we put out when we went to Liverpool away. Smashed it there. So I think kind of go off that lineup again. Smash it again. Just another good evening and then move on to the final game of the year.
No, for sure. A player that's not been mentioned, obviously, Barry Rachel Williams. She has started the last 2 Conti Cup games as well. So if we're going off previous games, you'd probably think that she's coming in to start again in this one. What do you reckon in terms of your changes you'd make and also your prediction as well?
As you well know, I'm entirely against rotation, so I wouldn't want it. I've been asked in the comments to go off on a run. I don't think anybody really needs me to go off on one again. Listen, we scored 7 the last time I said that, so who knows? Maybe we'll go off and do incredibly well. But I think, to be fair to the rotated players, they've come in and they've done a heck of a lot better than the rotated players did last season, which is what we expected initially anyway. What we wanted was to strengthen the depth so that we had players that could come in and could play the contact games, but that equally, if we had an injury, could step in and do the role without there being too much of an issue. So I think that would be... I'd still rather not. I'd put Fallon in goal, but that would be a permanent change for me. It's not just something I'd like to see for the Conti Cup. I'd like to see Paris given another chance. I feel like, she's just sort of been got like a bad habit at the moment, and I'd quite like her to be given another opportunity. But generally, no, keep it the same. Will we beat Leicester? Yes. Will we batter them? Probably not. Probably 1-0 or 2-1, something stupid like that, because they're just an annoying side like that. So that's my prediction. The only thing I would preface all of that with is that obviously, with it being a Thursday, we've only got the 3 days until the big game against Liverpool. And these WSL games are getting more and more important now, with us being just a point away from the top 3 and just 4 off of the top. We can't afford any slip-ups there. So I'm kind of, I've never been hugely fussed about the Conti Cup in the grand scheme of things. I still think it'd be a good thing to win because it's a trophy and we don't have anything. But yeah, for me, the Liverpool game's much more important. And sorry, I'm boring you, Connor.
No, I was saying to Jess earlier, I got back so late yesterday, and then I was up editing the vlog, which if you haven't watched, go and watch it, by the way, until 3:30 this morning.
Ignoring Barry's...
I'm shattered. Which is, it's been a long few days. But no, I agree. I'm glad you mentioned the Liverpool game. So as you said, with such a tight turnaround time between Leicester and Liverpool, I think we will see quite a few changes because of that. But if we win this game against Leicester, I'm pretty sure we are through in the Conti Cup for the most part, whether that's first or second, because we'll have enough points to go through in second, regardless of what happens against City. So it's a big one. But I think the fringe players have done enough to warrant. I think we probably will see Williams start. It'll probably be Paris in goals, and I want to see Lisa come in. I wouldn't be against Evans coming in for one of the centre-backs, and I think that's probably about it. And Fallon obviously in goal. Outside of that, let them come off the bench as well and ready for Sunday. And yeah, I agree about 2-0. Why not? We'll go with that. Right, we'll wrap it up there because yes, we've been going for a while, and as I've just said, absolutely shattered. Go and check out the Matchday vlog if you haven't already. As I said, you get to see Rob Kenton, by the way, first time I believe on the channel. He actually came on camera yesterday for the vlog to go and watch. He's in it twice. He's in it in the intro and towards the end as well. You get to see us walking down. We had to wait until if anyone's watched the vlog, you'll see this. But we had to wait until there was a fire or something. There was loads of fire engines behind us as we're filming, walking away. So it was nothing to do with us. Just pointing that out.
You know what that was, didn't you? People were going to put Hayley Ladd out because she was on fire.
Indeed. She was. I didn't get my. We won't go back to that. Yeah, I think she's been all right, but I don't think she's been. I don't think she set the world alight, but I wouldn't be against her starting because you said it's the Conti Cup, innit? So we shall see. Just because you said that, Vic, now I am going to vlog right in front of you and make sure you're in it. Now you've said that, because Jess will be there, me will be there. She is. We'll get everybody in.
Any chance we can get a side by side just so that people can realise that two of them are nothing alike?
We'll just be there in our toonie tops, that's it. I will purposely wear my Ella Toon top now on Thursday.
There we are. So we'll get them both in the vlog. There you go. There's your offer to you, Vic. So make sure you go and watch that if you haven't already. Make sure you follow on the Twitter account at allforunitedvids, and we're on TikTok as well, which we're uploading ridiculously regular at the moment. It's freaking me out. We're uploading like 3 or 4 videos a day at the moment. which is something new. So make sure you go and follow us on there if you want to see some funky edits of the players and the Christmas calendar as well, which is a bit more, I guess, wider than just the one post on Twitter that we're doing over there. Following these guys as well on Twitter if you fancy it, why not? And make sure you like the video, subscribe, and I shall see you guys later on in the week.